Fiddle leaf fig secrets. The truth nobody told you about growing a thriving indoor jungle. Hello, my fellow plant souls. Welcome home to Earthly Delights. If you've ever found yourself whispering to a wilting leaf, or celebrating a tiny new sprout like it's your birthday, then this space was made just for you. Whether your hands are always stained with potting mix, or you've just placed your very first leafy friend on a windowsill, I see you. You're someone who believes in the quiet magic of growing things. You're drawn to greenery not just for how it decorates your space, but how it heals your spirit. And today, I'm inviting you on a journey through the lush, sometimes mysterious world of one of the most iconic indoor plants of all time, the fiddle leaf fig. Yes, that tall, moody diva of the plant world, with its big, waxy leaves and dramatic flair. It's beautiful, it's bold, but it's also misunderstood. Maybe you've heard the rumors, it's too finicky, it hates change, it dies for no reason. But what if I told you, that's not the full story? In this video, we're going beyond basic care. This isn't just a how-to, it's a story of connection. A reminder that plants, like people, flourish when their unique needs are honored. So grab your favorite cup of tea, cozy up beside your green corner, and let's rediscover the fiddle leaf fig together, leaf by leaf, lesson by lesson. And if this already feels like your kind of vibe, don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Delights, because your plant journey is just beginning, and I'll be right here to grow with you. Part 1. The soul of the fiddle, light and love. Let's begin where all life begins, with light. You see, the fiddle leaf fig isn't just a pretty plant, it's a mirror. A sensitive soul that responds deeply to the light around it, just like many of us do. When I first brought my fiddle leaf fig home, his name is Theo. By the way, I thought I was doing everything right. I gave him filtered water, whispered sweet nothings, even played jazz music, but his leaves drooped, dulled, and one by one, they began to fall. And that's when I realized I had overlooked the one thing he needed most: light. But not just any light. Fiddles don't want to be scorched in the harshness of direct sun. Nor do they thrive in gloomy corners. What they truly crave is bright, indirect light, gentle, consistent, golden, the kind of light that streams softly through sheer curtains on a late morning. The kind of light that feels like a hug rather than a spotlight. Think east-facing windows, where the morning sun kisses but never burns. Or a spot just a few feet away from a bright southern window, protected by a light shade. That's where the magic happens. When your fiddle leaf fig finds the right light, you'll notice its entire posture change. The leaves will lift, new buds will shyly unfurl, and it's almost like the plant smiles. And in that moment, you'll understand that light isn't just a condition, it's a language. And your plant has been waiting for you to speak it. Now, here's where it gets beautifully symbolic. Because many of you watching this, my dear green-hearted friends, are also light seekers. You crave warmth, clarity, and balance in your life. Maybe that's why you're drawn to plants in the first place. Because they remind you of what it means to be alive in a quiet, rooted, and radiant way. So when you find your fiddle's perfect light, don't be surprised if something inside you shifts too. In the next chapter, we'll talk about a topic many plant parents struggle with: watering. It's where good intentions often lead to heartbreak. But with the right rhythm, your plant and your confidence can both thrive. Let's flow into that next. Part 2. Watering, the fine line between care and overcare. If light is the soul of the fiddle leaf fig, then water is its heartbeat. And just like our own heartbeats, it's all about rhythm. Too fast, and things fall apart. Too slow, and life begins to fade. But when the rhythm is just right, oh, the transformation is something to behold. I still remember the early days with Theo, my fiddle leaf fig. I was so eager to care for him that I kept giving him water. A little on Monday, a bit more on Thursday, just in case he was thirsty. I thought I was loving him, but what I didn't realize was that I was slowly drowning him with good intentions. You see, fiddles are sensitive creatures. Too much water, and they'll let you know, quickly. Leaves begin to yellow, drop without warning, and worst of all, you invite root rot, the silent destroyer. But when underwatered, the message is different: crispy brown edges, a gentle wilt, A plea for help that isn't too late. Here's the gentle truth. It's better to underwater than to overwater. Because underwatering gives you a second chance. You can respond. You can gently soak the soil. And within days, your plant perks up, grateful. But overwatering steals that chance. It seeps into the roots, suffocates them, and turns vibrant leaves into mush. So how do you find that perfect rhythm? It's simpler than you think, but it starts with letting go of the idea of a strict schedule. Your fiddle doesn't care what day of the week it is. It cares how the soil feels. Dip your finger into the pot. If the top 2 inches are dry, it's time to water. Or if you prefer a little gadget magic, use a moisture meter. What matters most is listening, tuning in, and when you water, don't rush it. Pour slowly, evenly across the surface, until water gently drains from the bottom. Let your plant drink deeply, and then, let it rest. Let the roots breathe. Give space for absorption, not saturation. Watering isn't just a chore, it's a conversation. And if you listen, your plant will speak back. It will show you what too much feels like. It will thank you when you get it just right. In life, as in plant care, overgiving often comes from a place of love. But wisdom comes when we pause, observe, and offer just enough, no more, no less. Coming up next, we'll dig a little deeper. Quite literally, because what happens beneath the surface, in the soil and the roots, is where the real transformation begins. Let's get our hands dirty in Part 3. Part 3. Roots and Soil, Foundation for Growth. Now that we've tuned into the rhythm of watering, it's time we journey deeper into the hidden world beneath the leaves. The place where all true growth begins, the roots. The roots of your fiddle leaf fig are more than just anchors. They are feelers, drinkers, and quiet seekers of nourishment. And just like us, when their foundation is healthy, they can grow fearlessly, freely, and full of life. One day, when repotting Theo, I gently removed him from his container, and what I saw changed the way I viewed plant care forever. His roots were circling the pot, searching, stretching, desperate for more room. It was a silent story of struggle, unseen, yet deeply felt. That's when I realized, what's happening below the soil often mirrors what's going on above it. And if we're not paying attention, we might miss the signs until it's too late. So, how do we create the best foundation for our fiddle's roots? First, we choose the right soil. Not just any bag from the store, but a blend that breathes. Your fiddle wants a medium that retains just enough moisture but drains excess away with grace. A mix of organic potting soil, a sprinkle of perlite or pumice, and just a touch of moss can create a dreamy environment, soft yet strong. Alive, because dense, compact soil? It's like asking a plant to thrive in concrete shoes. And what about root rot? That silent killer we mentioned before? It often begins when soggy soil chokes out the air the roots so desperately need. If your plant's growth slows, leaves droop, or you see dark, mushy roots when repotting, it's time to intervene. Gently cut away the rot, refresh the soil, and let the roots breathe again. It's a moment of healing, a restart. In a way, the soil you choose is like the mindset you carry in life. Is it nourishing you, supporting your growth, allowing you to breathe, or is it holding on too tightly, suffocating what's ready to expand? And here's something beautiful. When you give your fiddle a healthy root environment, the results above the surface come naturally. Bigger leaves, stronger stems, that lush, jungle-like vibe we all dream of. Because when we tend to the invisible, we invite the visible to flourish. Next, we're moving from the soil to the air, because no tropical plant thrives without a taste of its homeland. Let's talk about humidity, and how it's not just about moisture in the air, but comfort in the space we create. See you there in Part 4. Part 4. Humidity, creating a home that heals. If soil is the foundation and water is the rhythm, then humidity is the atmosphere. It's the breath of the jungle whispering through your living room. It's the invisible embrace your plant has been craving all along. Fiddle leaf figs are tropical natives, born in lush rainforests where the air is thick with life, moist, vibrant, full of unseen energy. So when we bring them into our modern homes, with our air conditioners, dry heaters, and sealed windows, they often feel like something's missing. And truthfully, they're not wrong. I remember one winter when Theo, my fiddle leaf fig, started looking dull and tired. His leaves weren't browning dramatically, but they lacked their usual luster. The room was warm, the light was steady, the watering just right, but something was off. And then it hit me. The air. It was too dry, too still, too silent. So I brought in a humidifier, placed it nearby, and let it run gently throughout the day. I added a few leafy friends around Theo to form a small plant circle, like a forest family. And just like that, he perked up. His leaves deepened in green. His new growth looked eager, not hesitant. The whole room felt different, softer, kinder, more alive. Humidity isn't just about numbers on a meter. It's about energy, comfort, recreating a sanctuary. If you don't have a humidifier, don't worry. There are other ways to bring the rainforest home. A simple misting once or twice a week. A shallow tray of water with pebbles beneath your plant. Grouping several plants together so they naturally share moisture like a family does warmth. And here's the thing. When you start creating these little humid pockets in your home, you'll begin to feel the shift too. Your skin, your breath, even your sleep may improve. Because what's good for your plant is often good for you too. And there's another hidden benefit to this moisture-rich space. Pests like mealybugs, they hate it. They thrive in dry, stressed environments. But when your plant is moisturized and happy, it's more resilient, more resistant, and more radiant. So think of humidity as more than a condition. It's an invitation to return to softness, to nurture presence, to honor the environment your plant once called home. Up next, we'll explore another small yet powerful habit that can transform the shape, strength, and balance of your fiddle leaf fig. It's not about adding more, but simply turning things around. Let's talk about rotation in Part 5. Part 5. The power of rotation, equality in light. Let's pause for a moment and imagine standing still in one spot, day after day, with only one side of your body catching the sunlight. It might feel good at first, the warmth, the attention, but over time, the imbalance would take its toll. You'd start to lean, you'd stretch too far in one direction, and eventually, you might even lose your center. This is exactly what happens to our fiddle leaf figs when we forget to rotate them. You see, light is nourishing, but it's also directional. It favors what it touches. So when your fiddle sits in the same position for weeks, its leaves naturally begin to reach for the brightest side. And while that reach is beautiful, it creates an unspoken tension, a slow lean, a top-heavy wobble, a future imbalance waiting to happen. But here's the gift. The solution is simple, almost poetic. Just turn it, once every 2 to 4 weeks. Give your fiddle a gentle quarter turn. Let a different side meet the sun. Let balance return, slowly and naturally. It's such a small act, but one that speaks volumes. I often say this to my fellow plant lovers. Rotation is a kind of fairness. A silent promise that every part will have its moment in the light. And it's funny how this mirrors our own lives. Sometimes, we pour all our energy into one area, work, family, healing, while neglecting other parts of ourselves that also need warmth and care. But when we remember to rotate our attention, even just a little, we grow more balanced, more whole. So the next time you pass your plant, take a moment, run your hand along its leaves, gently turn the pot, give another side its time to bask and breathe, and watch what happens, not just in the plant's posture, but in yours. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore something just as tender and essential, routine maintenance. Because even the strongest trees need gentle care, and a little dusting of love now and then. I'll meet you there, in Part 6. Part 6. Routine and maintenance. Care is a ritual. Sometimes, love doesn't show up in grand gestures. It lives in the little things, like wiping dust from a leaf, trimming away what no longer serves, or simply showing up again and again with quiet hands and open eyes. That's what routine plant care really is. Not just maintenance, but a ritual of presence. A soft, ongoing dialogue between you and your green companion. Every week or two, I make time to visit Theo, not just to water or check light, but to truly see him. I bring a soft cloth, sometimes just a damp cotton pad, and gently wipe each leaf, one by one. It's slow work, but meaningful. Because over time, Leaves gather dust, and dust, though small, creates a barrier between the plant and the light it needs to thrive. By cleaning them, we aren't just making them shine, we're restoring the connection between light and life. And while I'm there, kneeling, wiping, breathing, I notice the little things. A yellowing edge, a new bud unfurling, a tiny freckle of pest that I can catch early. It's in these quiet moments that the bond deepens, that I feel less like an owner, and more like a partner in growth. If you see a leaf turning fully yellow, don't hesitate to remove it. That yellowing leaf is still drawing energy from the plant, even if it's no longer serving its purpose. Letting it go helps the whole system stay strong. And if the edges of a leaf have turned brown or crispy, you can trim them gently with clean scissors, always following the natural shape of the leaf. It's not about perfection, it's about relieving the plant of stress it doesn't need to carry. Routine care is also a perfect time to talk to your plant. I know it might sound silly, but plants respond to sound, to breath, to intention. When you speak kindly, when you whisper encouragement, you're creating a field of calm, a shared peace, and sometimes, we need those affirmations just as much as they do. So let this be your gentle reminder. Your plant doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to be present. In the next part of our journey, we'll touch on something less romantic, but just as important, pests. Because sometimes, even the most loved plants get attacked, and knowing how to protect them is a part of that deeper love. See you in Part 7. Part 7. Pests, Pain and Prevention. Even in the most loving homes, trouble can sneak in. And for our plants, especially the sensitive, radiant fiddle leaf fig, pests are often that unexpected guest we never invited, but somehow still shows up. I remember the first time I saw them, tiny white specks clinging like cotton to Theo's leaves. At first, I thought it was just dust, or maybe lint, but then I looked closer, and I saw them move. Mealybugs. I'll admit it, I panicked a little. I felt betrayed. I had done everything right. Light, water, humidity, attention. How could this happen? But here's what I learned. And what I want to share with you. Pest problems don't mean you're a bad plant parent. In fact, they often show up because your plant is growing, changing, or adjusting to a shift in its environment. It's a natural part of the cycle, not a failure. What matters is how we respond. If you spot signs early, little webbing, sticky residue on the leaves, specks that look like dust but move, it's time to act. But gently, with care, not fear. Start by isolating the plant, just to give it a breather. Then, take a soft cloth and wipe each leaf carefully. You can use a mild neem oil solution or a homemade mix of water, dish soap, and a touch of alcohol. Always test on one leaf first, like a quiet whisper before the full conversation. And remember, prevention is quieter than cure. Pests love stress. They thrive in dry, stagnant conditions. That's why your humidity routine, your regular inspections, and your presence matter so much. When your plant feels supported, it becomes naturally more resistant, stronger, calmer, just like us. I know how discouraging it can feel to see your beautiful plant under attack. But this is also an invitation to slow down, pay closer attention, and lean in with love rather than frustration. Because every time you care for your plant in difficulty, you're deepening the relationship. You're becoming not just a caretaker, but a guardian, a steward of something living. And that changes everything. In our next chapter, we'll explore what happens when a plant outgrows its current home, when roots push against their boundaries and yearn for space to expand. It's time to talk about repotting, and how it mirrors those seasons in our lives when we, too, are ready for more. Join me in Part 8. Part 8. The Art of Repotting, Making Space for Growth. There comes a moment in every plant's life when the container it once thrived in starts to feel a little too small. The roots begin to press outward, seeking space. The leaves may slow their stretch. Growth, once effortless, begins to hesitate. And if we listen closely, really listen, we'll hear the whisper, "I'm ready for more." That's when it's time to repot. Repotting isn't just a practical task, it's a sacred transition. A moment of release, of renewal. It's your plant's way of telling you that it's ready to expand, but it needs your help to do so. When I repotted Theo for the first time, I was nervous. I didn't want to disturb him. But as I gently eased him from his pot and saw the beautiful network of roots spiraling, tightly packed, yearning, I realized that growth had been waiting quietly. All it needed was a little more room. When your fiddle starts showing signs like slowed growth, roots poking out of the drainage holes, or soil that dries out almost instantly, it's time. Choose a new pot just 2 inches wider than the old one. Not too big. You don't want to overwhelm the roots, but just enough to offer breathing space. Fresh soil is essential too. It's not just dirt, it's nourishment. It brings new energy, fresh minerals, and a clean slate. As you lift your plant from its old home, take a moment to thank it for surviving, for growing, even in cramped quarters. Then gently loosen the root ball. Remove old, tired soil. Let go of what no longer serves. Place your plant in its new container with care. Fill in the gaps with rich, supportive soil. Press gently, but not too tight. Let it settle in, like a traveler arriving at a new destination. And then, wait. Don't water right away. Give it a moment to adjust, to root, to trust its new space. There's something deeply symbolic in this act. Because haven't we all outgrown something before? A job, a habit, a belief, a version of ourselves that once fit, but now feels limiting? Repotting reminds us that growth often starts with discomfort. That leaving what's familiar, even when it's tight, opens us to something greater. That space is not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, and deeply personal. So next time you repot your fiddle, see it not as a chore, but as a conversation, a gift, an expansion of both pot and possibility. In the next chapter, we'll talk about one of the most exciting and rewarding moments in any plant journey, propagation. The art of beginning again, with something small and full of promise. I'll meet you in Part 9. Part 9. Propagation and branching, the joy of new beginnings. There's a quiet kind of magic that happens when we take something living and help it begin again. Propagation is one of those moments that feels almost too simple to be so meaningful. A single snip, a glass of water, a touch of patience, and just like that, a new life begins to take root. It's one of my favorite parts of the plant journey. Not because it's quick, but because it's deeply symbolic. The first time I propagated Theo, I remember feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. It was just a small cutting, from a green, flexible stem just beginning to lignify. I placed it gently in a jar of lukewarm water, placed it near a soft stream of light, and waited. Days passed, then weeks, and one morning, I leaned in and saw it. Tiny white roots curling from the base, reaching into their new world. It felt like witnessing a miracle. But propagation isn't just about creating more plants, it's about sharing. About generosity. That tiny cutting? You can gift it to a friend. You can plant it in a new corner of your home. It's a way of saying, here's something that grew with love. Now it's yours to grow too. Fiddle leaf figs, when pruned properly, can propagate beautifully. And what's even more exciting? Where you make the cut, just below a leaf node, your original plant often responds with new branching. As if saying, thank you for the space. I'm ready to become more. There are 3 ways your fiddle can grow new branches. Sometimes it happens naturally, especially when you provide more light and begin fertilizing. Other times, you can top the plant, cutting off the main stem, and from that very spot, 1 or more new shoots may emerge. And then there's notching, a gentle incision above a node, encouraging a new branch to push out from the side. Not all notches will sprout. Not all cuttings will root. But that's okay, because trying is part of the beauty. These methods of multiplication and expansion are not just tricks. They're lessons. They teach us that growth can look like letting go. That pruning is sometimes the path to fullness. That even from a single piece, entire worlds can unfold. So the next time you hold those pruning shears, take a breath, be intentional, know that you're not cutting to reduce, you're cutting to create. In the next chapter, we'll talk about something surprisingly powerful, movement. How giving your fiddle a gentle shake can lead to stronger roots, thicker stems, and greater resilience, just like in nature. I'll see you in Part 10. Part 10. Shaking things up, strengthening the trunk. Out in the wild, a fiddle leaf fig doesn't grow in silence. It lives among wind and rain, movement and resistance. Its trunk twists, leans, bends, and straightens again, all in rhythm with the world around it. And it's this very motion that builds its strength. But indoors, protected by 4 still walls, our plants don't have that same dance. No gusts, no sway, no call to adapt, and over time, their trunks stay thin, their bases weak. They may grow tall, but not strong. That's why giving your fiddle a gentle shake, yes, a literal shake, is more than just a quirky habit. It's an act of simulated nature. It tells the plant, you need to hold yourself. You need to grow sturdier. Once a week, or every few days when you're nearby, wrap your hand gently around the base of your plant and give it a subtle wiggle. Not a storm, just a breeze. Let the movement travel through the stem. Let it remind the plant of its need to ground, to anchor, to grow thicker in response. It might sound strange, but it works. That light resistance activates micro-responses within the plant's cells. It triggers growth hormones to strengthen the trunk. And over time, your once wobbly fiddle stands taller, firmer, more confident in its own weight. It reminded me of something deeply human. Isn't it true that the things which challenge us, shake us, are often the very things that make us stronger? A sudden change, a period of uncertainty, a life that doesn't go as planned. In those moments, we waver, but if we stay rooted, we thicken, we stabilize, we become more capable of holding up everything that grows from us. So don't be afraid to shake things up, for your plant and for yourself. Controlled discomfort leads to deeper strength. And sometimes, what looks like a disruption is actually preparation for more. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore a rare and beautiful sign, a sign that your plant is not only surviving but thriving. Let's talk about the mysterious little fruits your fiddle might produce, and what they mean for you. See you in Part 11. Part 11. The rare fig fruit, signs of a happy plant. Sometimes, the universe sends you a sign. Not loud, not grand, just quiet proof that something is working. That something is growing beautifully, even when you're not watching it every second. For the fiddle leaf fig, that sign is a fruit. Yes, this dramatic beauty, known more for its bold, sculptural leaves, can, under the right conditions, produce tiny figs. They're not the kind you'd toss into a salad or drizzle with honey. They're not edible in the traditional sense. But oh, they're meaningful. Because when your fiddle leaf fig begins to fruit, it means one thing above all else: it feels safe. It feels seen. It feels home. It doesn't happen often indoors. In fact, it's quite rare, but it's not impossible. When your plant is receiving just the right balance of light, water, humidity, nourishment, and yes, your attention, it may surprise you with these small, green, berry-like symbols of joy. At first, they're barely noticeable, but when you do see them, your heart may skip just a little beat. Because you'll know, you've created an environment so stable, so nurturing, that your plant has not only grown, it has reproduced. It has said, life is good here. That moment can be deeply emotional. It's not just about the plant, it's a reflection of your own inner garden. Of your ability to stay consistent, to learn, to care, to grow right alongside your leafy companion. And just like all fruits, these too will pass. They'll dry up, fall off, return to the soil, but their message will stay with you. You're doing well. So if you ever find a little fig on your fiddle, take a photo, whisper a thank you, maybe even smile to yourself in that quiet way we do when something sacred happens and no one else is watching. In our final chapter, we'll take one last deep breath together. We'll reflect on what this plant, this journey, has taught us. And how we can carry those lessons beyond the pot, into our lives. Join me for Part 12. Part 12. What your plant teaches you, a final reflection. At the end of all the watering, wiping, turning, trimming, something deeper remains. Yes, your fiddle leaf fig may stand taller now, its leaves glossier, its roots stronger, but if you've been listening closely, you've likely received something far more precious than lush foliage. You've received wisdom, because every step of this journey, every drop of water, every speck of dust removed from a leaf, every moment of quiet observation, was never just about the plant. It was about you too. Your fiddle taught you patience, how to wait without rushing, how to let growth unfold in its own time, not yours. It taught you presence, That 5 minutes spent wiping a leaf can ground you more deeply than hours spent scrolling through noise. It taught you to observe without judgment, to notice small shifts, to read signs, to respond with gentleness instead of panic. It reminded you that not all progress is visible, that what's happening beneath the surface, rooting, resting, realigning, is just as vital as the show above. It even taught you that letting go of dead leaves, tight pots, old patterns, is not loss. It's love. And maybe, just maybe, it whispered something you've always known, but often forget, that nurturing something outside of yourself can awaken something beautiful within. So as you look at your fiddle leaf fig now, whether it's a towering beauty or still finding its feet, I hope you see more than a plant. I hope you see a mirror, a companion, a quiet guide, and I hope you carry what it's taught you beyond the pot, into your relationships, your home, your habits, and your heart. Thank you for spending this time with me. And with your plant, thank you for showing up, for it, and for yourself. If this journey has touched you, even in the smallest way, I'd love for you to stay connected. Subscribe to Earthly Delights, where we grow not just greener spaces, but gentler souls. Until next time, may your roots stay deep, your leaves reach wide, and your spirit remain ever growing. Until we grow again. So here we are, at the end. And yet, somehow, also at a beginning. Because plant care isn't a one-time effort. It's a living rhythm, a quiet, evolving practice that mirrors the ebb and flow of life itself. Just like the changing seasons. Just like our moods and our dreams. Your relationship with your fiddle leaf fig will continue to shift. And that's not a flaw, that's the beauty. You may stumble again, forget a watering, lose a leaf, feel unsure, but I hope now, after this journey, you'll remember, it's okay. Growth isn't linear, it's layered, spiraled, and full of second chances. So the next time you pass by your plant, let it be more than decor. Let it be a moment, a pause, a breath, a whisper that says, you're growing too. And as you walk away, carrying that quiet knowing into your day, know this. You are not alone on this path. Here at Earthly Delights, you're part of something rooted. A community that finds meaning in the green, in the stillness, in the small acts of care that ripple into something bigger. If this story moved you, inspired you, or simply reminded you of what matters, consider subscribing, so we can keep growing together. There's so much more waiting to unfold, new plants, new lessons, new beginnings. Until then, stay kind, stay curious, and always, stay rooted.